She endured ridicule. Directly at the center of her former best friend's wedding. A plain linen dress, worn ballet flats, her hair partially tied. It was sufficient to make her the evening's object of amusement amid a gathering of elaborate designer gowns and professional makeup artistry. A glass of red wine was spilled onto her dress. A piercing laugh echoed. "Oops, sorry, you're mistaken. This isn't a charitable fundraiser." Eva Quinn remained motionless, holding her invitation, her expression composed. They were unaware of her identity. They perceived only a reserved woman and presumed she was holding onto outdated ways. Even the bride had only extended an invitation to showcase the accomplishments she believed she had acquired. However, their assessment was incorrect. The woman they had just embarrassed was the wife of the man who had recently acquired the very company the bride was boasting about. The Belvoir estate shimmered beneath a late September sky, its expansive lawns and marble terraces reimagined as a setting for Clara Wynn's wedding. Elegant chandeliers descended from silk-draped pergolas, scattering glittering light across tables adorned with gold-rimmed crystal glassware. Orchids overflowed from every available space, their fragrance blending with the cool evening air. Attendees, global influencers, CEOs, and minor royalty, circulated like stars in designer gowns and custom-made tuxedos, their laughter echoing as a harmonious expression of affluence. The event was live-streamed to millions, presented as a celebration of empowered womanhood, with Clara, the self-proclaimed Queen of Ellis, as the focal point. Drones buzzed above, recording all perspectives for a global audience. Eva Quinn appeared on the terrace, her square-neck linen dress flowing gently in the breeze, the light sage fabric draped simply, ending just above her ankles. The sound of her worn ballet flats echoed softly on the stone, and her auburn hair was arranged in a casual knot, with several strands loose around her face. She had no makeup, her skin radiating a healthy glow, and the only jewelry she wore was a simple silver ring on her left hand. She held a cream-colored envelope in her fingers, Clara's invitation, written in elegant but smug script, encouraging her to observe a new chapter. At 36, Eva possessed a striking appearance, her hazel eyes keen with a calm wisdom, her cheekbones catching the light. Her beauty possessed a quiet quality, like a confidence shared with only a few. She stopped near the group's perimeter, her eyes taking in the estate. She'd established Ellis from nothing, a dorm room vision of pure aesthetics, arising from late nights experimenting with compounds, while Clara playfully teased her for her dedicated passion. Eva provided the intellect and the drive, crafting products that transformed an entire sector. However, following her daughter's birth, when postpartum issues confined her to bed, Clara and their close friends acted. Her name had been removed, her work appropriated, and she had been forced out through a boardroom coup, leaving her with only a broken heart and a newborn child. Eva had withdrawn, opting for a peaceful existence, while Clara advanced on the foundation of her stolen achievements. A server in a shimmering gown moved closer, her smile restrained as she assessed Eva's attire. Catering personnel should use the side entrance, she indicated, gesturing toward a gravel path bordered by service vans. Eva's lips lifted slightly, her voice gentle but distinct. "I am a guest, Eva Quinn." The invitation was presented, its wax seal intact. The hostess paused, examining it with a small gadget, then showed a look of concern. "This appears authentic, but," she began, "please wait here." She moved away, speaking quietly into her headset, leaving Eva to feel the attention of those around her. Other attendees began to observe her, their hushed tones disrupting the string quartet's music. A woman dressed in a sapphire gown, with emerald earrings, bent towards her escort. "Is that linen?" she inquired, her voice carrying across the room. Did she arrive from a craft fair? Her friend, Lila Hart, a tech heiress, laughed, her diamond bracelet flashing. It seemed likely she was here for the open bar. A man in a velvet tuxedo, his cufflinks glinting, joined in the laughter. No makeup, a rather daring choice for someone seeking financial gain. Their amusement spread, attracting more attention. Eva remained still, her hands clasped around the invitation, her expression calm. She sensed their stares, as pointed as needles, but they didn't affect her. She had overcome more challenging situations. The memory of hospital rooms, betrayal, and nights spent questioning her ability to rebuild felt distant, just background noise. She advanced towards the main pavilion when Clara Wynne materialized, radiant in a crystal-encrusted gown that glimmered like frost. Her blonde hair was styled in an updo, diamonds catching the light at her throat. She noticed Eva and paused, then offered a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Eva?" Clara's voice was syrupy, audible to the nearby tables. "Oh, you came. Don't worry. You are still welcome to attend this wedding, even if you are no longer the founder of Alyssa." The words had a sharp impact, and the crowd responded with laughter, quickly raising their phones to record the moment. Clara inclined her head, her smile becoming more pronounced. "I mean, it has been years, hasn't it? You've moved on." She indicated toward Eva's dress, her tone laced with what seemed like pity. Eva's gaze met Clara's, remaining calm and resolute, but she did not speak. Eva's silence appeared to disconcert Clara, who laughed again, louder this time. "Please, let's all be considerate," she said, gesturing with her hand. "Eva is someone I've known for a long time. Let her appreciate the scenery." She moved away, her dress trailing on the floor as attendees murmured, their voices a quiet disapproval. An old acquaintance? Lila Hartskoft. More accurately, a relic of the past. The master of ceremonies, a polished man called Trevor Kane with a sharp smile, stepped onto the platform, his microphone shining. "Please take your seats," he announced, his gaze sweeping across the assembly. He noticed Eva and hesitated, his smile growing. He indicated a designated area for certain attendees, gesturing toward a table close to the catering staff, situated behind a service station filled with trays. "Right there, miss. That's ideal for you." Laughter rippled through the room, a harsh sound that bounced off the marble. A waiter, seemingly believing Eva was an employee, presented her with a tray of champagne flutes. "Hurry up. They're waiting," he said, then appeared confused when she politely refused, her voice steady. "I'm not serving tonight." Eva was seated at her corner table when a catering manager in a crisp suit approached, his face flushed with irritation. "You are in the incorrect location," he stated, his voice loud enough for nearby guests to turn. "Staff do not sit with guests. Please move." He grasped her arm, pulling her up as her chair scraped the marble, drawing stares. "Don't feign ignorance," he hissed, misinterpreting her silence as resistance. Guests applauded, one person shouting, "Send her to wash dishes." A woman tossed a napkin at her, laughing, "Start cleaning. Honey." A drone overhead focused on her misstep, sharing it with millions. Eva regained her balance, her invitation shifting a little, but her expression showed no fear, only a calm determination that contrasted with their excitement. Eva proceeded to the table, her movements deliberate, and took a seat, maintaining a straight posture, the invitation still in her grasp. The other attendees at the table, mostly secondary guests and a few hesitant relatives, didn't meet her eyes, their unease obvious. Close by, a cluster of influencers in bright dresses recorded themselves, their voices carrying. "She's giving thrift store vibes," one commented, focusing the camera on Eva's flats. "Does she realize this is being streamed to millions?" Another remarked, her lips gleaming. "Bet she's here to request a position with Clara." Their audience responded enthusiastically, with comments appearing rapidly. "Loser alert. Why is she even here?" As Eva stood close to the pavilion, a group of attendees approached, their eyes reflecting hostility. A woman in a pearl-encrusted gown, her lipstick sharp as her tongue, moved forward. "Why is she present here?" She expressed disdain, her voice audible to everyone. "Clara is too compassionate, allowing those in need to enter." Her escort, a man with a gold watch, threw a shrimp from his plate at Eva's feet, smiling. "Retrieve, dear." The assembly erupted, phones recording as others participated, scattering morsels, murmuring, "She is insignificant now." A young influencer declared, "Let's make her infamous for being pitiable," inciting further laughter. Eva's hands were steady as she held her invitation, her gaze fixed forward, yet the atmosphere grew heavy with their malice, a display fueled by her silence. Clara's inner circle, the women who'd assisted her in acquiring a license, gathered near the bridal platform, their laughter as cutting as shards of glass. Margot Rees, a former chemist who had taken Eva's formulas, inclined her head towards Sloane Carter, the marketing expert who had revised Eva's narrative. "Look at her," Margot said, her ruby necklace catching the light, seated with the staff, utterly pathetic. Sloane smiled, enjoying her martini. Clara's talent was intriguing her. It seemed to suggest she wouldn't disapprove. They touched glasses, their attention on Eva, who remained impassive, her eyes focused on the stage where Clara was about to speak. The audience's antagonism became more pronounced, encouraged by champagne and Clara's challenge. A gentleman in a bow tie, his face red, bent toward Eva's table, his voice unsteady. "Hey, servant, get me a drink," his companions shouted, one throwing an olive from his martini, observing it travel across her lap. A muffled exclamation drew laughter. A woman wearing a feathered headpiece dismissed Eva with a disdainful gesture, her voice laced with mockery. "You're disrupting the decor, dear. Perhaps you're better suited for the kitchen." Cameras quickly recorded the olive stain, the discarded napkin, and the mark on her dress resulting from the incident. Eva's grip tightened on her invitation, yet her expression remained calm, displaying a quiet resolve that made their comments appear frantic. Trevor Kane returned to the microphone, his smile now more pronounced. "Before our bride speaks, let's acknowledge our unexpected guests." He gestured toward Eva, the spotlight shifting to her table, momentarily obscuring her. "Who invited the vintage shop? Huh?" The crowd responded with enthusiastic applause. Trevor Kane approached the microphone, his eyes twinkling as he focused on Eva again. "Folks, we have a remarkable story here," he announced, the spotlight highlighting her. "Miss Thrift Shop believes she's a guest, but let's be honest, she's here for the refreshments." The audience roared, their phones raised, recording as he spoke on, suggesting, "She's probably prepared a sad tale. Let's hear it, Eva, and have a cry with us." A spectator tossed a bread roll, striking her shoulder, while another yelled, "Give her a gift bag and remove her." The live broadcast intensified, the comment section filled with harsh remarks. "Complete failure. Clara dominates." Eva wiped away the crumbs, her face calm, her quietness a barrier against their anger. A drone approached, its camera focused on her, displaying her soiled dress to the public. Online comments exploded, a wave of dismay. Calls for her removal echoed. Eva remained composed, the bright stage lights illuminating her face, but her gaze didn't falter, fixed on Clara, who smiled from the stage, clearly enjoying the attention. Clara approached the microphone, her voice rich and controlled. "Thank you all for celebrating with me," she began, her gown shimmering under the lights. "This wedding isn't just about love, it's about my journey. The list was my vision, my hard work, my victory. I created it from the ground up, and tonight, I am here as evidence that a woman can achieve everything she desires." The audience responded with enthusiastic applause, the sound reverberating as Clara's gaze briefly met Eva's, a spark of triumph visible in her eyes. "Some individuals begin with great momentum but eventually diminish," she continued, her words deliberately sharp. Clara interrupted her address, her eyes fixed on Eva with a triumphant expression. "Oh, let's remember where we came from," she said, her voice laced with insincere warmth. "Eva, you instructed me significantly about yielding." The crowd's applause was sharp and intense as Clara indicated Eva's table, the spotlight shifting to emphasize her stained dress. "Look at her, still so unassuming," Clara remarked, eliciting surprised reactions and laughter. A guest called out, "Back to the basement, Eva." As others recorded with their phones, Clara moved closer to the microphone and added, "Some people simply aren't suited for the spotlight." Eva remained composed, her hazel eyes unwavering, a quiet strength setting her apart from their animosity. She stated, "Others, like me, ascend and continue ascending." The applause grew, but Eva's gaze remained steady, her silence more impactful than Clara's words. Her voice continued, even as Clara spoke. A woman wearing a gold dress, her influencer status evident in her carefully posed posture, whispered to her companion, gesturing towards Eva. "She's probably homeless now," she murmured, nodding. Clara added that she had failed after losing Elise. Her companion, a hedge fund employee named Derek, laughed, the sound audible to Eva's table. Bet she's here to get a free meal, he said. He inadvertently nudged his fork in her direction, causing it to fall with a clatter at her feet. Pick it up, darling, he said, which elicited laughter. The drone recorded everything, and online platforms quickly amplified Eva's perceived embarrassment, with memes already circulating. Alyssa's forgotten founder. Eva dismissed the fork with her foot, her actions purposeful, her composure serving as a defense against the public's reaction. Following this, a deep vibration filled the air, resembling thunder across the estate. Attention shifted. Drinks halted in midair as a helicopter descended, its blades cutting through the evening light. It touched down on a lawn nearby, scattering petals and dust, its polished, black exterior a striking contrast to the wedding's soft colors. The assembled guests murmured, cameras adjusting to record it, live stream viewership surging to millions. A man emerged, his tuxedo immaculate, his demeanor commanding the attention of everyone present. Asher Dorian, the famously private billionaire and renowned master of global mergers, a name spoken with a mix of apprehension and admiration. His dark hair was swept back, his gray eyes scanning the crowd with a predator's focus. He moved past the guests without a word, their gasps trailing him like shadows. Asher's steps were deliberate, crossing the terrace in long strides, ignoring the bridal dais, Clara's speech, the entire spectacle. His eyes found Eva and the world seemed to pause. She stood, her stained dress catching the chandelier light, and she took his hand, her touch steady, familiar. A hush fell over the audience, their amusement abruptly silenced. Clara's microphone malfunctioned, her speech fading, and her complexion lost color beneath her veil. Trevor Kane's smile disappeared, his hands awkwardly adjusting the microphone stand. The drone focused, showing Asher's hand clasped with Eva's, her silver ring catching the light like a promise. Asher then turned to Trevor, his voice calm but powerful, breaking the stillness. Please accept my apologies for this interruption. I have a few important announcements regarding the company the bride has been so enthusiastically promoting. He paused, allowing the anticipation to linger, his gaze sweeping the assembled group. A complete roster had been obtained this morning. All shares, every patent, every formula, and the new legal representative. He looked at Eva, his eyes softening briefly. My wife. Gasps spread through the estate, phones clattered, and live streams erupted with commentary. What? Eva's back? Eva moved forward, her footsteps echoing on the marble, and ascended the stage. Her stained dress, a symbol of their cruelty. Clara recoiled, her gown snagging on the microphone stand, her diamonds appearing lackluster beside Eva's serene glow. Eva grasped the microphone, her voice steady and controlled, reminiscent of a deep flowing river. Thank you, Clara, for supporting my brand for the last few years. I didn't come here to disrupt your wedding. I came to reclaim what had been wrongfully taken. The audience fell silent, their previous disapproval now overshadowed by astonishment. Julian Holt, Clara's fiancé and heir to a shipping dynasty, rose from the head table, his expression strained with anger. He moved toward Clara, speaking in a quiet but clear voice that reached the nearby guests. You lied, he stated, his words precise about everything. He removed the engagement ring from her finger, the emerald flashing as he dropped it to the floor. We are finished. Clara's reality shattered as Eva's words lingered, her diamond veil shifting as she stumbled away. Guests averted their gazes, their hushed voices cutting through the air. Did she take everything? Eva truly is remarkable. Her phone vibrated with urgent messages, Alyssa's removal from the board and the departure of sponsors. The live stream, previously her platform, exposed her, displaying a frozen image with mascara running. Someone who had applauded Eva's speech now questioned her integrity, whispering, fraud. Clara attempted to offer a statement, but her microphone malfunctioned, the resulting quiet intensely noticeable. The realm she had constructed, founded upon Eva's talent, crumbled within moments, her reputation becoming a cautionary tale, her former prestige now reduced to dust before Eva. He walked off the stage, past the stunned crowd, and disappeared into the estate, leaving Clara alone under the spotlight. Clara's composure faltered, her hands trembling as she gripped the microphone. "This isn't true," she exclaimed, her voice high-pitched, but the crowd didn't react. Phones vibrated, headlines developing. Alyssa founder reclaims throne at wedding scandal. The live stream increased to 10 million viewers with comments pouring in. Clara's a fraud. Eva's iconic. Margot and Sloane, Clara's collaborators, attempted to leave, but drones tracked them, displaying their faces on screens globally. Their careers, established upon Eva's misappropriated work, disintegrated as it happened, with sponsors withdrawing and their names becoming prominent for negative attention. Eva exited the stage, Asher beside her, their hands still connected. She did not look at Clara, nor did she revel in the disorder. Her lack of comment conveyed a message, her reality more impactful than any insult. The audience cleared a path. The murmurs had shifted to expressions of wonder, sorrow, and embarrassment. Trevor Kane, his usual confident hosting demeanor absent, offered a quiet apology, but Eva remained silent. She had sought justice, and she achieved it without needing to speak. Before the evening concluded, Julian's family, the Holts, released a formal declaration, severing all connections with Clara and her business endeavors. Her influence, her contracts, her public image, and her carefully constructed narrative crumbled swiftly. Online platforms reacted harshly, featuring memes of her surprised expression with the caption, "Thief Bride." The wedding guests who had previously mocked Eva now confronted their own consequences. Lila Hart's startup experienced a loss of funding, Derek's hedge fund encountered audits, their identities linked to Clara's fraud. The public followed intently as Eva's resolute actions altered the narrative. By morning, the wedding's guest list was a casualty of ruined reputations. Lila Hart's startup ceased operations, investors pointing to damaging public perception following her viral comments. Derek's hedge fund faced lawsuits, his clients bailing as Derek downtrended. Margot and Sloane, Clara's allies, lost their board seats, their names removed from Alyssa's records. The influencer in gold, her video ridiculing Eva now notorious, witnessed her transactions disappear, followers shifting with fake glam. Attendees who'd chuckled retreated, their apologies disregarded, and their brands exiled by Asher's network. Eva's veracity, understated yet unwavering, consumed their realities, her poise the instrument delivering the most profound damage. Asher and Eva halted at the terrace's edge, the helicopter awaiting them beyond the lawn. He regarded her, speaking softly. "You weren't obligated to do this." She smiled, her hazel eyes reflecting the starlight. "I chose to. It was for me." She briefly looked back at the estate, observing Clara's silhouette, now solitary under the chandeliers, and then turned away, her movements graceful, her ring sparkling. They proceeded toward the helicopter, the night belonging to them, the world irrevocably altered. If this story resonated with you, please leave a comment, like the video, and subscribe for more impactful stories like this one. She experienced ridicule, physical contact, and was expelled from the Orem Wellness Spa, solely due to her attire, a simple white dress and flats, as opposed to more elaborate jewelry and heels. Her reservation was visibly ripped before her. Derisive laughter trailed her as she exited into the snow. The following morning, her husband's private jet touched down on the mountain. This was no ordinary jet. It was the custom G800, distinguished by E-stone etched in silver. As he disembarked, those who had previously demeaned her were visibly stunned. They were completely mistaken. Snow spiraled through the sharp peaks of the Swiss Alps, coating the glass walls of the Orem Wellness Spa with glittering crystalline particles resembling diamonds. Within, the atmosphere was heavy with the aroma of eucalyptus and the sound of privileged comfort. Patrons, adorned in cashmere robes, enjoyed matcha lattes as attendants applied 24-karat gold facial masks. Ella Stone entered through the substantial doors, her white cotton dress gently swaying around her legs, her flats making no sound on the marble flooring. Her dark hair was styled in a relaxed half-updo, her face unadorned by makeup, glowing but tired from weeks immersed in floodwaters, reconstructing a village in East Africa. She carried nothing but a quiet elegance that appeared incongruous with the luxury surrounding her. The receptionist observed her closely, her lips forming a dismissive expression. This is a luxury spa, not a donation drop-off. Laughter spread through the lounge and Ella's heart felt a pang. She hadn't come seeking their approval. She'd come for relaxation, but what followed would shake this mountaintop. The Orem Wellness Spa was a haven of privilege situated at 8,000 feet, reachable only by private helicopter or a winding road designated for the world's elite. The gathering included a distinguished assembly of royalty, CEOs, and celebrities, with attendance secured through a Royal Gold Tier membership or a highly sought-after invitation. Ella, aged 32, appeared out of place. Her dress, understated and without visible branding, showed slight wrinkles from her luggage. Her shoes, functional and showing wear, made a subtle squeaking sound on the gleaming floor. However, her beauty, genuine and without artifice, attracted glances, though not the type she desired. She moved toward the reception desk, her hazel eyes focused, her voice gentle yet distinct. "Good afternoon," Ella said, offering a small smile. "I have a reservation under Ella Stone." The receptionist, Claire, a woman with sleek blonde hair and a diamond-studded name tag, barely looked up from her screen. Her fingers paused as she typed, and she tilted her head, assessing Ella with undisguised disdain. "A reservation?" Claire repeated, her tone sharp. "This is an exclusive spa. Reservations are for members only. Maybe you had a reservation at the lodge further down the valley?" Ella's smile remained steady, although her fingers pressed a little more firmly around the phone. "No, I'm positive it's here. I made the booking online last week. Would you mind checking again, please?" Claire let out a sigh, her carefully done nails striking the keyboard with deliberate slowness. Guests in the nearby lounge, women in designer loungewear, men with Rolexes glinting, glanced over, their whispers growing louder. A woman with a platinum bob, her face shimmering with gold flakes, leaned toward her companion. She whispered, loud enough for Ella to hear. "Looks like she walked here from a tent." Her friend, a man in a tailored blazer, chuckled, probably chasing Instagram clout. Pathetic. As Ella stood at the reception desk, a woman in a velvet robe rose from the lounge, her diamond earrings catching the light. "Excuse me," she said, her voice laced with mockery. "Is this a new charity event? Are we sponsoring refugees now?" Laughter erupted in the room, guests applauding as if she's made a joke. She moved closer, her gaze sweeping over Ella's dress with disapproval. "Honestly, darling, you're embarrassing yourself. Go back to wherever you came from." Ella's fingers gripped her phone, her face composed but her heart racing beneath their amusement. Ella felt her cheeks flush, but she maintained her gaze on Claire, ignoring the people around them. She had endured more challenging circumstances, including floods, famine, and heartbreak. This felt insignificant in comparison. However, the impact of their disapproval remained, a subtle discomfort settling beneath her composed demeanor. Claire's eyes shifted between the screen and Ella, her expression becoming stern. "There's no Ella Stone in our system," she stated plainly. "Are you certain you didn't reserve a spot under a different name, or possibly someone else's?" Claire bent across the counter, raising her voice to be heard by everyone present. "Let's be clear," she stated, gesturing towards Ella's dress. "This spa has a reputation to uphold. You look like you haven't seen a mirror in years. Did you think you could simply enter here?" She glanced towards the lounge, encouraging their amusement with a dramatic shrug. Seriously, how did she even get past the gate? The crowd responded with boisterous laughter, some capturing images with their phones, the flashes resembling vultures circling prey. Ella remained still, her poise unwavering, but the pain of being the center of attention was intense. The suggestion lingered, a weighty accusation. Ella appeared to be an imposter, an unwelcome presence in their luxurious environment. Just as she was about to speak, a man in a tailored suit approached from the lounge. This was Victor Lang, the spa's guest relations manager, known for identifying concerns before they disturbed the atmosphere. His lips tightened into a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Is there a problem, Claire?" Victor inquired, his voice calm yet firm. Claire indicated Ella, her tone full of derision. This visitor states she possesses a reservation, but we have no corresponding entry. I had been detailing our membership guidelines. Victor's eyes moved over Ella, pausing on her dress, her footwear, and her unadorned hands. I understand, he stated, joining his hands behind his back. Victor approached, his polished shoes clicking distinctly. Let's resolve this, he said, moving around Ella as if a hunter assessing a prize. He hesitated, examining her with deliberate attention, then scoffed. No makeup, no jewelry, no elegance. Did you believe we wouldn't see? He indicated her flats, his voice carrying across the lounge. Those shoes belong in a second-hand shop, not Orem. You're not just out of place, you're a slight to our guests. Laughter rose, guests concurring, their disapproval a pressing tide. Ella faced his look, unwavering, yet the atmosphere around her felt denser, tinged with their disdain. Madam, the Orem Spa is reserved for Royal Gold Tier members, or those with private invitations. Without proper credentials, I'm afraid you don't meet our standards. I have a confirmation email, Ella said evenly, pulling out her phone. She opened the message, displaying a booking code and payment receipt. It's right here. Victor didn't bother looking at the screen. He waved a hand dismissively, as if swatting away an insect. Emails can be fabricated or borrowed, he said. The system was confirmed as complete. My name was absent. A wave of quiet laughter spread through the lounge, the guests ceasing their attempts to overlook what was happening. A woman wearing a robe with fur trim remarked, perhaps she located the code on a promotional website. Her companions chuckled, their gold masks wrinkling. Ella's expression hardened, but she refrained from responding. She put away her phone, her actions measured and controlled, preserving her composure against their unkindness. I understand, she said softly. I will depart. Oh, not quite, Claire stated, her voice suddenly firm. She indicated a security guard positioned close to the entrance, a large man named Rolf, who had a buzz cut and a stern expression. We do not permit unauthorized entry, she stated. Rolf will make sure you are directed to the exit. Rolf advanced, his boots making a heavy sound on the marble floor. This way, he said gruffly, pointing towards the glass doors. Outside, snow fell in dense curtains, and the wind roared against the mountainside. Ella paused, glancing at the confirmation email one last time. She had the option to contest this, request a re-examination, or challenge their assertion. However, the pressure of their gazes, the confident expressions on their faces, indicated it would be futile. This was not the place, and this was not the moment. She stood tall, raising her chin a little. Thank you for your time, she stated, her voice even despite the shame she felt within. She pivoted and proceeded towards the exit, Rolf following closely. While passing the lounge, a man wearing a silk scarf murmured, I bet she borrowed someone's booking code or found it online. His companion chuckled, lifting a glass of sparkling water in a playful salute. As Ella turned towards the doors, a group of guests located near the lounge rose, their voices forming a taunting chant. Out, 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 they called, clapping in time, their gold masks shimmering like harsh reflections. One threw a crumpled napkin at her, snickering, take that for your next booking. Someone yelled, don't return unless you learn to dress. The chanting intensified, a surge of mockery tracking her movements. Ella kept her shoulders straight, her steps even, but each word struck her like a weight, filled with their shared disapproval. The entrances appeared nearer, offering a way out, but not comfort. The glass entrances slid open, and a rush of cold air touched Ella's face. Rolf remained inside, arms crossed, making sure she wouldn't turn around. The doors closed behind her, shutting her out into the snow. Her dress provided scant warmth. Her flats sank into the powder. She paused there for a moment, the spa's golden light seeming to mock her through the glass, the sounds of laughter reaching her. Ella didn't weep. She didn't utter a curse. She simply retrieved her phone, her fingers remaining steady despite the cold, and composed a message. They removed my name from the list and my dignity. Is it possible for me to borrow the jet? She pressed send, placed the phone in her pocket, and proceeded down the snow-covered path, her form disappearing into the storm. Unaware of the impending consequences, the spa continued its operations. The closest village, a collection of chalets located 10 miles down the mountain, was still when Ella reached it. She had secured transportation with a compassionate delivery driver who felt sympathy for her cold appearance. Currently, she sat near a window in a modest inn, enjoying tea, the floorboards creaking and a fire crackling in the hearth. Her dress was damp, her hair matted, but her expression remained calm and resolute. She felt no anger for her own experience. Instead, she felt anger for everyone who had ever been dismissed, judged, or discarded for not fitting an established standard. The spa's actions were not a personal attack, it was a systemic problem, and that was what she intended to address. Her phone vibrated, a response from Ethan. "Jet's on its way. Be there tomorrow. Love you." She smiled subtly, placing the phone down. There was nothing more to explain. Ethan would comprehend. He always did. Ethan Stone was a name recognized with significance across continents. At 40, he led Stone Medical Technologies as CEO, a worldwide enterprise that transformed healthcare through AI-driven diagnostics and reasonably priced prosthetics. Forbes listed him as one of the world's top 5 billionaires, but his financial status represented only a portion of his power. His influence, subtle yet steadfast, impacted policies, provided funding for hospitals, and addressed concerns from critics. He shunned public attention, preferring his actions to convey his message. However, his actions always drew notice, and currently he was acting for Ella. They had first encountered each other 12 years prior, when Ella served as a volunteer nurse in a war-torn region, and Ethan was transporting medical supplies. Her bravery, her unwillingness to yield to disorder, captivated him. She had never been interested in his wealth, only his character. Working in tandem, they had created a life of significance, with her directing relief operations and him developing solutions to preserve lives. Their wealth served as a means, not a display of prestige, and Ella's unassuming nature was her asset, a deliberate choice to remain humble despite their billions. Returning to the spa, the morning arrived bright and clear, the snow shimmering under a faint sun, guests relaxed in warm pools, their laughter drifting through the mountain air. Claire performed her duties, her smile polished as she welcomed a prince from Dubai. Victor moved among the affluent, guaranteeing every desire was fulfilled. Rolf remained near the doors, his posture a quiet deterrent to those not belonging. At 10:03 a.m., a faint tremor disturbed the calm, causing heads to turn and eyes to narrow towards the distant view. A modern Gulfstream G800, its dark, non-reflective exterior shining, began its descent towards the private airstrip located 3 miles away. The inscription E. Stone was displayed in silver on its tail, readily identifiable to those familiar with influence. Rumors quickly rippled through the spa. Could that be Stone's aircraft? A guest questioned, holding her robe. "Ethan Stone, here?" Claire's smile wavered, her fingers pausing above the keyboard. Victor stopped speaking, his gaze moving to the windows. Rolf stirred restlessly, feeling a change in the atmosphere. A group of black SUVs approached along the mountain road, their tires disturbing the snow. Staff members in formal suits exited the vehicles, establishing a barrier around the spa's entrance. Visitors moved closer to the windows, their matcha left untouched, their gold masks falling. The doors slid open and Ethan Stone entered. His gray wool coat was understated yet custom-made, his dark hair showing hints of silver, his blue eyes as sharp as the alpine wind. Standing 6'2", he possessed a quiet authority that hushed the room. Trailing him, a single aide carried a leather binder, its heft indicating more than just documents. All eyes tracked his progress as he traversed the marble floor, his steps measured, his expression unrevealing. Claire straightened, summoning a smile despite the tremor in her hands. Victor quickly approached, his characteristic charm absent, replaced by a nervous politeness. "Mr. Stone," Victor said, offering his hand. "What an honor. Welcome to Orem Wellness Spa. How may we?" Ethan didn't respond to the greeting. He halted at the reception desk, his eyes fixed on Claire. The room fell silent. "My wife was here yesterday," he stated, his voice quiet, measured. slicing through the stillness. Ella Stone possessed a confirmed reservation, yet you denied her entry. Claire's face visibly paled. I don't remember, I stated. You don't recall, Ethan repeated, his voice even but firm. He retrieved a single card from his coat, black with gold embossing. It read, Ella Stone, Founding Equity Partner, Supreme Elite Membership. He presented it on the counter, the sound distinct in the quiet atmosphere. Victor's eyes widened, his mouth moving silently. Mr. Stone, it seems there may be a misunderstanding. Ethan raised a hand, stopping him. He placed the leather binder next to the card, the cover displaying the Aurum logo. There is no misunderstanding, he stated. My wife was a founding investor in 12 of your global properties. She held 20% ownership of this spa, or did until yesterday. He opened the binder, showing a contract filled with legal language. This morning, she is redirecting all of her investment funds to your competitor, Vitali's Resorts, with immediate effect. A collective intake of breath went through the lounge. Guests held their phones, many already typing quickly. Claire's hands went to her mouth, her gaze searching for Victor. He offered no assistance. His face paled and he seemed to be recalling his career. Mr. Stone, Victor stammered, please allow us to rectify this. We were unaware. Ethan stated, his voice now colder, because you evaluated her based on her dress, not her inherent value. You summoned security to guide her out into a snowstorm. You canceled her booking to preserve your desired appearance. He moved closer, his gaze fixed on Claire. If you are unable to respect a woman wearing a simple dress, you do not deserve to cater to any woman at all. The statement resonated powerfully. Patrons stirred with discomfort, some averting their gaze, others murmuring in disbelief. A sense of diminishing hope lingered near the entrance, his frown giving way to apprehension. Ethan turned to his assistant, who provided him with a tablet. The surveillance footage from yesterday, Ethan stated, addressing the room, is already with my legal team. By tonight, it will be public. The world will see precisely how you treat your guests. Claire's legs gave way and she held onto the counter for support. Victor moved forward, desperation evident in his voice. Mr. Stone, we will do anything. Reactivate her reservation and extend a lifetime membership offer. Ethan replied, closing the binder decisively, it's over. He then addressed the security team, a single nod indicating, remove the implicated staff. Immediately, the suited guards acted quickly, moving towards Claire, Victor, and Rolf. Claire's objections escalated into cries as she was guided towards the rear exit. Several days following Ethan's visit, Claire was brought before the spa's remaining employees, called for a meeting with Aurum's regional director. The crispness of her uniform couldn't hide the paleness of her face, nor repair her shattered confidence. The director's tone was frigid, stating, your actions concerning Ella Stone have damaged our brand. The termination was immediate, and she was warned, finding future employment will be difficult, as every spa in Europe is aware of your name. Claire received her final paycheck, her eyes filling with tears, the room filled with silence save for the sound of her resignation letter. She left to whispers, her career now in ruins, the remnants of her self-assurance gone, replaced by a harsh lesson in humility. This was her career. She wept, but no one stepped in. Victor trailed behind, his head lowered, murmuring apologies to the empty air. Rolf did not struggle, simply exited, his boots scraping the floor. Ethan spoke to the remaining staff, his voice steady and firm. This spa's territorial license is revoked. Aurum's parent company has been notified. You will close by the end of the month. A moment of shocked quiet followed. Guests looked at each other, some quietly leaving to avoid the consequences, others recording the scene surreptitiously. The spa's golden glow appeared to lessen, its exclusivity weakening because of Ethan's words. He turned to depart, pausing briefly to retrieve Ella's membership card. She didn't require this to demonstrate her value, he stated, placing it in his pocket. You needed it to demonstrate yours, and you did not succeed. As the doors closed behind him, the spa was plunged into turmoil. Managers rushed to contact corporate, guests requested refunds, and employees murmured about their prospects. The news disseminated rapidly, much like snowfall. By noon, Orum's scandal was trending globally, the released video inciting widespread anger on social media platforms. Critics denounced the spa's exclusivity, and Vitali's Resorts declared a new collaboration with Ella Stone, guaranteeing accessible wellness for everyone. 1 week elapsed, and Ella passed the spa's closed entrance, the glass doors now secured, the marble floor appearing somber. Snow accumulated against the walls, concealing the previously prominent Orum logo. The white dress remained, though now paired with boots instead of flats, and her hair was still partially arranged upwards. Her appearance hadn't changed, yet she projected a greater intensity, as if the mountain itself were yielding to her. Ethan stood close, his coat lightly covered in snow, his arm gently touching hers. They stopped, observing the deserted building. On the nearby street corner, Claire was visible in her former Orum uniform, distributing promotional flyers for a discount massage establishment. Their eyes connected briefly with Ella's, then lowered, a blush rising on her cheeks. Ella remained silent, words were unnecessary. Her quietness resonated more powerfully than any reprimand, her composure demonstrating her resilience. Ethan offered a wry smile, drawing nearer. Next time, I'm bringing the entire massage team to our villa, all right? Ella responded with laughter, a cheerful sound against the stillness of the mountains, and they continued their walk, departing the spa and its teachings behind. If this story resonated with you, please like it, share it with others, leave a comment, and subscribe for more content. The moment she entered the will reading, she was dismissed. A gray linen dress, a faded cardigan, and simple flats were all it took to elicit scorn from a room filled with meticulously styled appearances, their smiles seeming insincere. A man wearing a gold tie initiated the remarks, a mixture of laughter and mockery in his tone. "Is that the maid?" A young woman subtly inclined her head and murmured to her companion, probably a distressed former paramour seeking compensation. Ivy Clark remained near the rear of the room. She remained silent, showing no reaction, merely adjusting the strap of the cloth bag she held. In their eyes, she was merely a shadow, an outsider who had entered a space intended for blood, legacy, and status. However, they were mistaken. The woman they had just humiliated was the legal wife of the man they were all gathered to inherit from. And today's reading of the will was a test she had assisted in creating. The Thorne estate stretched across a wooded hill, its stone walls and iron gates forming a fortress against the world. Inside the grand hall, the scent of old money mingled with polished oak, leather, and the subtle fragrance of roses from vases that cost more than most people's rent. Crystal chandeliers hung like frozen waterfalls, capturing the April light and distributing it across a gathering of 42. Relatives, investors, advisors, and assistants, each one was dressed to assert their position in Logan Thorne's empire. Elegant suits, silk dresses, and diamonds that sparkled with each movement filled the room. Guests mingled, sipping champagne, their expressions of sympathy seemingly as practiced as their smiles. Ivy entered discreetly, her footsteps barely audible on the marble floor. She selected a spot in the back corner, close to a large window that showcased the hazy hills beyond. Her dress was understated, comfortably loose, the gray fabric worn soft with age. A pale blue cardigan, faded with time, slipped gently from one shoulder. Ivy's dark hair was styled in a low bun, with a few strands escaping to soften her features, high cheekbones, hazel eyes that seemed to observe everything, and lips that remained composed even when others might have retorted. At 36, Ivy possessed a quiet beauty that resonated, like a memorable melody. Preston Thorne, Logan's second cousin, rested against a mahogany table, his Rolex gleaming as he smirked. Indeed, how did the cleaning staff gain access? His voice resonated, intentional, prompting amusement from a group of cousins close by. Marissa, Preston's sister, wearing a crimson dress, flipped her hair and remarked, "Perhaps she's here to dust the will before it's read." More laughter followed, brittle and pointed, like shattering glass. Across the room, a younger woman, Clara, a niece with a tech startup and a TikTok following, subtly pushed her friend, Elise, a former assistant to Logan's CFO. "Bet she's one of his charity cases," Clara whispered, loud enough for Ivy to hear. Or a mistress he forgot about, Clara continued, looking at her bag as if she were carrying her lunch. Elise chuckled quietly, taking a subtle photo with her phone. This is going on my story, she said. Clara's fingers quickly moved across her phone, a smile spreading as she wrote a caption for the photo she'd just taken of Ivy. Logan's charity case interrupted the will reading. Guess she thinks thrift store chic gets her $1 billion, she said, making sure Ivy heard. The people nearby chuckled, some reaching for their phones to approve and distribute the post, which was quickly becoming popular online. Numerous comments appeared, with strangers referring to Ivy as insignificant and needy, their words a digital attack that reflected the room's disapproval. Ivy remained still, her hazel eyes reflecting the light from Clara's screen. She remained silent. Her quietness appeared to encourage their enjoyment, as if her restraint was a test they needed to overcome. Elise, a friend of Clara's, moved closer, her voice laced with what sounded like sympathy. It was a sad situation. She didn't realize she had become a meme. The laughter increased, a wave of unkindness that reduced Ivy to something less than a person, her self-respect a focus for their mockery. Ivy's fingers briefly pressed into her cloth bag, a simple item carefully made, with no visible branding. She avoided looking at Clara or Elise, ignored Preston's taunt and Marissa's barb. She remained still, her breathing regular, her gaze fixed on the vacant chair at the front where the lawyer would sit. To them, her silence appeared as weakness, a sign of exclusion. They failed to perceive the strength beneath, the way her stillness commanded a room without effort. The crowd swelled as more people arrived. A previous investor, Gerald Hayes, wearing a pinstripe suit, commented to his wife, "Logan always had people around. This one doesn't belong here." His wife, adorned with emeralds, concurred, her gaze assessing Ivy's attire. "She lacks refinement," she stated, her voice barely audible. "Her mere presence is mortifying to the family." A relative, Trevor in a velvet blazer, called out, "Hey, dear, the kitchen is over there." He indicated a side entrance, smiling as his companions applauded him. A woman, Lillian, adorned with pearls and a descendant of ants, expressed her disapproval with a cluck of her tongue. She suggested someone should guide her out prior to the lawyer's arrival. She felt it was disrespectful to Logan's memory. Marissa, in a crimson dress that moved with each step, approached Ivy. Her heels made clicking sounds like a timer winding down. She halted close to Ivy, appearing taller, and her perfume was strong. "You're in the wrong place, darling," she stated, her voice clear and audible to everyone present. She extended her arm, brushing Ivy's cardigan as if it were discarded, her nails lightly touching the material with clear disapproval. "This isn't a soup kitchen. You should leave before you cause further embarrassment." The onlookers observed, a few smiling, others murmuring, but no one intervened. Ivy's hands remained firm on her bag, yet the intrusion into her personal space felt like an offense, Marissa's proximity a deliberate warning. A relative close by whispered, "She's got some nerve staying," and the room's agreement regarding Marissa's actions was evident, their quietness sharing in Ivy's distress. Ivy remained still. Her gaze shifted quickly to the security camera in the corner, its red light blinking consistently. She was aware it was active, transmitting to a secure server only 2 individuals could view. One was her, the other wasn't present. Not yet. As Grayson began to read, Trevor quietly moved behind Ivy, the fabric of his velvet blazer softly contacting the wall as he murmured to his companions, "Observe this." He retrieved a cocktail napkin from a table close by, wrote charity case with a Sharpie, and discreetly placed it in Ivy's bag while she was unaware. The room observed, quiet amusement rippling through the space as individuals indicated the note, its prominent letters marking Ivy. Clara took another photograph, struggling to contain her laughter, while Elise murmured, "She's a walking joke now." Ivy remained oblivious, her attention on Grayson, but the crowd's excitement was palpable, their amusement a painful blow to her sense of self. Trevor relaxed against his chair, smiling, as Lillian commented, "She deserves it for appearing like that." The prank was not only unkind, but also a performance, intended to make Ivy appear foolish for simply being present among them. The lawyer, Arthur Grayson, arrived promptly at 10 a.m. Dressed in a gray suit, his briefcase felt substantial with its contents. He appeared to be in his 60s, his face marked by years of managing wealth and conflicts. A stillness fell over the room as he placed his briefcase on the table, opened it, and retrieved a single, sealed envelope. There was no unnecessary display or introduction. He straightened his glasses and surveyed the attendees, his eyes briefly lingering on Ivy, a moment that disturbed Preston, who furrowed his brow and murmured to Marissa, "What was that?" Gerald Hayes stood, the fabric of his pinstripe suit straining as he gestured toward Ivy, his voice resonant like a judge announcing a ruling. "This woman is a fraud," he stated, his finger shaking with anger. "Logan would never permit someone like her close to his estate. She's here to deceive us. That's undeniable." The room filled with murmurs of concurrence, heads moving in agreement, gazes fixed on Ivy as if she were a criminal apprehended in the act. His wife, her emeralds sparkling, added, "She likely possesses a false identification within that worn handbag." The accusation lingered, casting Ivy as a criminal in their perception, her presence unwelcome and offensive. Ivy's gaze remained unwavering, yet the burden of their judgment felt immense, each word a painful blow meant to expose her. The crowd's whispers intensified, their anger a display for one another, Ivy's silence only intensifying their desire to condemn her. Grayson began, "We are gathered to read the last will and testament of Logan Alexander Thorne, which was executed 3 years ago and confirmed as genuine." A wave of whispers filled the room. 3 years. Logan had disappeared only 6 months prior, his private jet having been lost over the Pacific. There was no debris, no remains, just an absence that generated news and avarice. Many believed he was deceased, many hoped so. Preston adjusted his tie, his smirk reappearing. "Let's proceed, then. Who receives the inheritance?" Clara moved closer, her perfectly shaped nails clicking against her phone, already composing her celebratory message. Gerald folded his arms, voicing concerns about stock options. Lillian held her pearls, confiding in Trevor about the summer house in Nice. Ivy remained motionless, her bag now on the floor. She observed Grayson's hands as he opened the seal, the breaking of the wax echoing in the hushed room. They moved closer, their breaths light, their gazes intense. This was the moment. The instant they had prepared for, plotted for, traveled across continents for. Logan's empire, encompassing tech patents, real estate, and a biotech firm valued at $90 billion, was potentially available, or so it appeared. Grayson opened the document, his voice calm yet measured, every word like a stone placed in quiet water. "I, Logan Alexander Thorne, being of sound mind, issue this as my final will. To my family, colleagues, and associates, I bequeath only this statement. Wealth exposes character, it does not define worth." The room fell silent. Preston's smile wavered. Clara's phone moved slightly in her grasp. Gerald's jaw clenched, his wife's emerald seeming surprisingly weighty. "Surely this couldn't be accurate," Grayson stated, appearing calm. "All my assets, company shares, properties, accounts, and intellectual rights, are bequeathed to one person. The individual who stood by me for no reason other than love. The person who never inquired about my net worth, never sought my name for status. My wife, Ivy." A sharp, jagged gasp filled the room as heads turned, searching for the person behind the announcement. Preston let out a short, disbelieving laugh. "Wife." Logan wasn't married. Marissa's hand covered her mouth, her red fingernails contrasting with her whitening skin. Clara's eyes narrowed, looking towards Elise, who silently questioned, "What the hell?" Gerald pushed back his chair, the sound scratching against the floor. "This is absurd. Logan never spoke of a wife. It must be a deception. Someone has fabricated this." Lillian gripped Trevor's arm, her voice high-pitched. "She's not here, right?" she asked, referring to a possible gold digger they hadn't met, someone attempting to take what belonged to them. Grayson raised a hand, calming them. "The will is valid, it was signed and notarized. We have supporting documents, including a marriage certificate, photographs, and personal letters, all available for verification." He retrieved a folder from his briefcase and opened it, displaying a photograph. It was Logan. He appeared younger, laughing, with his arm around Ivy, who was wearing a simple white dress. 7 years prior, a courthouse stood silent. Suddenly, the atmosphere shattered. Preston struck the table forcefully, declaring, "This is insanity." "Who is she?" Clara rose, her phone unnoticed, demanding, "Where's this Ivy? Show her." Trevor responded with a scornful expression, suggesting, "Probably some con artist hiding in Belize." Marissa's voice, sharp with anger, pierced the noise, asking, "If she's real, why is she not here? Too ashamed to show her face?" Ivy advanced. The action was subtle, measured, resembling the shifting of a tide. She moved across the room, her footsteps silent, yet every gaze followed her. Her cardigan shifted gently, and her linen dress shimmered in the light. She paused near Grayson, maintaining a poised stance and a tranquil expression. A simple cloth bag rested on her shoulder, reflecting her understated nature. The quiet was profound. Grayson began to speak, then stopped, his gold tie appearing overly bright. Clara's cheeks reddened, a previous image seeming to glow from her phone. Gerald retreated into his chair, his wife's emeralds appearing less vibrant now. Lillian's pearls appeared to constrict her. Her hand paused in the middle of a movement. Grayson gestured toward Ivy, a subtle acknowledgement in his gaze. "Mrs. Thorne," he stated, delivering the folder to her. She accepted it without a visible reaction, her fingers firm as she opened it, observing the photograph, her lips curving slightly, as if recalling the occasion it captured. Then she shut the folder and turned to address the assembled group. "I did not come for the funds," she declared, her voice distinct and calm, reminiscent of a chime through mist. "I came to understand your character. Who amongst you treated Logan like a person, rather than a financial asset? Who would grieve him, not his wealth?" She stopped, her hazel eyes moving across the assembly, observing each individual with ease. "You have revealed yourselves for who you are." Preston spoke, his voice trembling but resolute. "Are you suggesting you are his spouse?" "You?" He indicated her dress, her cardigan, his laughter strained. "Logan Thorne married to this? No intention to be rude, madam, but your attire suggests you purchase clothing from second-hand shops." Ivy did not flinch. "I do," she stated plainly. "Logan didn't mind. He appreciated me for who I am, disregarding my clothes or possessions. Can any of you claim the same?" Clara scoffed, crossing her arms. "That's a convincing performance, but I'm skeptical. If you are his wife, what evidence do you have? A photograph isn't sufficient. Anyone can create a false image." Sounds of concurrence spread through the room, encouraging those present. Gerald affirmed, his voice prominent again. "She's correct. We require further validation. Witnesses, official papers, something tangible." Grayson reopened his briefcase, retrieving a bundle of documents. A marriage license, dated 7 years ago, was signed by both parties and 2 witnesses, a nurse named Sarah Ellis and a librarian, Michael Reed. There were personal letters from Logan to Ivy, handwritten, and verified through forensic analysis. Bank records demonstrated joint accounts maintained privately at Logan's request. He paused, retrieving a small USB drive. The drive contained video footage from their wedding. He inserted the drive into a laptop on the table, and a screen on the wall flickered to life. A hush fell over the room as a blurred video appeared on the screen. Courthouse steps, Logan in a plain suit, Ivy in a white dress, both of them smiling as they shared a kiss. Sarah and Michael stood close, applauding. The timestamp aligned with the marriage certificate. The resistance in the room dissipated, faces losing color, eyes shifting to Ivy, who observed the footage with a subdued pain in her expression. Marissa rose to her feet, her voice shaking with anger. "This is a fabrication. You orchestrated this, correct? Intending to, what, make us appear unfavorable. You're insignificant. Logan would never choose someone like you." Her words caused pain, yet Ivy's expression remained unchanged. She allowed Marissa's anger to linger without a reply. Then she spoke, her voice now icier, with a precision that could wound. "You are correct about one aspect. This was orchestrated, not to deceive you, but to evaluate you. to determine if any of you were concerned enough to inquire about my identity before you ridiculed me, to see if you would respect Logan's legacy or simply grasp for his fortune. She advanced towards the assembled group, her aura dominating the space. You have failed. Every single one of you. Trevor chuckled, now visibly anxious. Test? Is this some kind of game show? Surely you can't be serious. But his voice faltered as Ivy's gaze locked onto his, unwavering and resolute. She retrieved a small remote from her bag. Logan is not dead, she stated, choosing her words with precision. He is alive, and he has been observing you throughout this entire period. She activated the remote, and a monitor on the wall sprang to life. Within a room, shadowed and quiet, Logan Thorne was seated. Aged 42, possessing a lean build and dark hair touched with gray, his blue eyes remained keen. He reclined in a chair, his demeanor composed yet firm, reminiscent of a judge assessing individuals. A camera feed displayed a live connection with a timestamp visible. It read April 15, 2025, 10:32 a.m. Suddenly, the room erupted with gasps, shouts, and expressions of disbelief. Preston recoiled, his tie disarranged. Clara's phone slipped from her hand, the screen fracturing against the marble. Gerald's wife held his arm tightly, murmuring, "No, it's not possible." Lillian's pearls broke, pearls rolling across the floor. Logan's voice emerged from the monitor, deep and strong. "You believed I was gone. You thought this was your opportunity to divide up my life as if it were a cake. But I've been present, observing, hearing every word, each scornful expression, every deception." His eyes moved, seeming to look past the camera towards Ivy. "She cautioned me you would reveal your true nature." She was correct. Ivy's lips flickered, almost a smile, as she addressed the assembled group, her voice calm. Logan's aircraft incident was staged, a maneuver to assess allegiance and identify betrayals. You arrived promptly, adorned in your finest attire, eager to assert claims you did not possess. However, this was not about finances, it concerned uncovering the truth. The doors of the grand hall swung open, and Logan entered. He was genuine, substantial, his presence impactful. His suit was understated, without a tie, his shoes showing signs of his journey. A path opened as he moved through the room, the murmurs fading, the confidence disappearing. He paused near Ivy, his hand lightly touching hers, providing a sense of stability. She raised her gaze to him, her expression relaxing for the first time, and he inclined his head, a wordless understanding. He turned to address the room, his tone compassionate and natural. Ivy orchestrated this, the will, the reading, the cameras, everything. She wanted to understand your character when you believed you were unobserved, who would treat an unknown with respect, whose actions would be kind, whose concern would extend to me, irrespective of my financial status. He hesitated, his gaze traveling across the assembly, fixing upon each individual. None of you earned his favor. Logan's eyes settled on Preston, the man who had initially derided Ivy, his gold tie now appearing ostentatious and restrictive. You insulted my wife, Logan stated, his voice subdued yet intensely threatening, each word penetrating the room's astonished quiet. You chuckled as she remained standing, isolated, allowing you to reveal your character. Did you believe I wouldn't notice? Preston recoiled, his earlier confidence vanished, his fingers awkwardly adjusting his tie as if it offered protection. The onlookers observed, motionless, as Logan approached, his stature imposing even in his plain suit. You are not family, Preston, you are a parasite, and I will no longer sustain you. A guard materialized beside Preston, his hold steady, and as Preston departed, his objections were lost in the reverberation of Logan's statements. The room felt lighter, justice a tangible force, Ivy's honor restored with each step of Preston's disgrace. Preston attempted to speak, his voice hoarse. Logan, please, we didn't know. She didn't say anything. Logan's gaze snapped to him, cold and final. She shouldn't have had to. You saw a woman you didn't recognize, and your first reaction was to tear her down. That's not family, that's not loyalty. Clara stepped forward, desperate now. We're sorry, okay? We didn't mean it. Ask her, Logan, ask her to forgive us. Her eyes moved to Ivy, as if begging, but Ivy's expression was unyielding. Her silence felt more condemning than any words. Logan refused to agree. It's not a matter of forgiveness. It's about accountability. He gestured towards Grayson, who produced another document. This is a supplemental clause to the will, taking effect now. Anyone who addressed Ivy disrespectfully today, identified in security camera recordings, audio recordings, or through testimony, will be disinherited. No shares, no properties, no communication. The matter is concluded. Preston began reading names, his voice sharp and authoritative.
Preston Thorne, Marissa Thorne, Clara Evans, Gerald Hayes, Lilian Ward, Trevor Lang.
Each name was announced with force, causing faces to fall, protests to erupt, then subside as security personnel intervened. Preston shouted, "You can't do this. I'm blood." But a guard gently took his arm, guiding him toward the exits. Marissa followed, her crimson dress flowing, her sobs audible. Clara held her damaged phone, quietly murmuring, "This can't be happening." As she was being escorted out, Clara's face lost its color as Logan turned to her, his gaze piercing her like glass. "You turned my wife into a meme," he stated, his voice even but intense, believing your followers would applaud you. "But falsehoods don't endure," he continued. He gestured toward Grayson, who activated his laptop, and Clara's phone vibrated intensely in her hand. Her social media accounts, her empire of influence, were collapsing publicly, posts deleted, followers decreasing by thousands, sponsors severing ties with remarkable efficiency. "You're banned from my companies, my properties, my life," Logan stated as a guard took her arm, her damaged phone falling to the floor. The crowd's gasps were a chorus of awe, the room charged with the excitement of justice. Ivy stood beside Logan, her silence holding weight as Clara's digital influence weakened, her past mistreatment of Ivy now contributing to her downfall. Gerald's wife attempted to protest, her jewels sparkling, but Logan interrupted her. "You insulted my wife, and you are no longer welcome here." They departed, their heads lowered, as onlookers dispersed and guards emptied the room. Lillian's scattered pearls made a brittle sound beneath the footsteps, a suitable conclusion to her arrogance. As the doors shut, just a few remained, 3 individuals who had remained quiet, who hadn't laughed or sneered. Sarah Ellis, the nurse from the wedding video, now older, her eyes filled with relief. Michael Reed, the librarian, who had nodded to Ivy upon her entry, acknowledging her discreetly. And Anna, a groundskeeper who had offered Ivy water prior to the reading, without hesitation. Logan turned to them, his voice gentler now. "You observed her, you didn't judge, that's what family signifies." He looked at Ivy, his hand finding hers again. "You were right about all of it." Ivy's gaze lingered on the empty chairs, the spilled champagne, the broken pearls. "I didn't want to be right," she said, her voice quiet but firm. "I wanted them to be better." She faced the 3 who remained, her eyes warm now. "Thank you for seeing me." Logan squeezed her hand, his voice low for her alone. "You are more than they'll ever understand." A slight, genuine smile touched her lips as she moved closer, the fabric of her cardigan lightly against his sleeve. The room was still, the vultures having departed, the truth revealed. Ivy did not require the money, the estate, or the empire. She had never desired them. What she had wanted was Logan, living, complete, belonging to her. And now, with the world reduced to its essence, they remained together, resolute. The hills beyond shone green beneath the April sky, and the cameras ceased blinking, their purpose fulfilled. If this story resonated with you, please show your appreciation with a like, share it with someone who might benefit from hearing it, and subscribe for more stories that explore difficult subjects with hope. Your support helps ensure these stories continue to be told.